Hello, Kansas and Western fans. It's time for today's poll results and work plan for the next 2 weeks. But before we get into the results, I want to cover the parts that I said I was going to continue to work on regardless of the results. And that is to continue to figure out this resin pour. This is the test bed here that I've been practicing on. And this second pour here is fully cured. It's already smooth to the touch, so that's, I guess, how you know it's cured. It's not tacky at all. So I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to do a third pour in this area. I'm going to go ahead and repaint using this brown oxide that I used over here because I'm really liking this color for the river bottom. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and try dyeing the resin again just to see if it gives me a little bit different look than this. This look isn't bad. I think it's pretty close to what I want for color. But we're going to go ahead and try to dye it again anyway just to see if it changes at all. The other thing we're going to go ahead and try to do is I've given up totally on the dams. The dams are not going to work. And you can just see how much leaching there is along the rocks. And I know that's because there's too many avenues through those rocks that are just impossible to see in order to seal properly. So that's fine. I knew that's a possibility, so we're going to move on from that. But what I am going to also try to do, I got my different Woodland Scenics water effects here for rapids, for waterfalls, and then some paint highlights for the whitewater. So I'm going to experiment with that on these areas that I've already cured. And we're going to see if I can basically trick the viewer being all of us, to see if we can make it look like there's rapids and changes in elevation between these areas. So since I don't want to do the dams anymore, I don't need to do them, they're not going to do any work, then you're not going to see anything on the layout river that looks like this. At least not something that's so blatantly obvious to look like something like a dam. So not worried about that anymore. So now I just want to make it look like we've got water movement and that there is a change in elevation. So we're going to continue working on that, and a couple of things I want to point out on the river itself. So here on the Arkansas River, obviously I want to go ahead and repaint that whole river bottom with that more green-brown color. So we'll get that looking like it should. The other thing I want to do is now that I've messed with some static grass, there's some areas along the actual river where tall grasses and weeds have taken control near the water line. And especially in this dry riverbed, I would expect to see quite a bit more grass. So we're going to try to do some of that. I need to figure out if I want to do any more coloration to this rock on the right or the left for that matter. The left is a little bit uniform in color, so I might want to add a little bit more of that, at least down by where the water line is going to be. And then I want to go ahead and figure out how much debris, rock debris, I guess, will be in the river itself. You can see I have several pieces just kind of sitting out here. I do have some larger scale boulders, I guess you would call that, for my outdoor landscaping here at my home. I want to add some more of those, and I want to do any upper water's edge stuff like up here, get that all done so it doesn't all filter down into the river. Although as well as the resin has cured, I'm not really worried about anything falling on it anymore because it is very smooth to the touch, which tells me it'll be easy to clean or dust or whatever. So I'm not concerned at all anymore about making sure I get this whole scene completely done before I do the river pour. So anyway, those are the things I'm going to work on. Let's discuss the poll results for this weekend. All right, I apologize for this. My printer is not working, so we're just going to have to use the computer for this. And as you might have guessed from the thumbnail, the Holcomb Power Plant has won with a total of 8 votes out of a total of 26. And you can see here the Portland Cement Plant was a pretty close second. And then we've got other vote getters down here. And we'll go ahead and show you all those. And I appreciate everybody for participating. I'm sure there was at least a little bit of excitement knowing that you'd be able to vote for something other than the Royal Gorge work, and you might actually win. So thanks everybody who voted, and we're going to go back to the layout and discuss what we're going to be working on for that. Okay, back to layout here, and this is the Holcomb Power Plant scene. As you can see the label there. Several things I can work on here. Obviously this primary structure is not yet complete. There's another pretty good sized element that'll fit right here in this space that will attach to the plant itself. If any of you have seen this kit, you know that there is more to it. There's a lot more detail that I can add onto the plant itself, a rooftop, and things of that nature. So we'll definitely get that done so we can get an idea for how big this thing is finally going to be. I still have a little bit of detail work to do on this substation that's going to be part of the plant. Eventually I do plan to add wires in the substation itself and then figure out how to tie those into the plant. Obviously power is generated there and then sent to the substation to be distributed. I do have on my wish list on Walthers at least a couple of those tall transmission towers. I'm not sure I have a home for those on this layout yet, but I'm considering it. I need to get at least one of those ordered so I can get it built and figure out if it's going to be appropriate to put it anywhere near this scene. But anyway, we'll continue to work on that. And then the coal piles, I've generally figured out how I'm going to do that. I'm probably going to make a video on that because it's kind of unique. The issue that we're going to have here is I only need to represent half of a coal pile because obviously my discharger there is right up against the backdrop. So I need to figure out how to do that without having all of my coal drain down the seam I have back here with the backdrop. Now the seam was not tied into the wall because I thought it'd be a lot easier just to slip this backdrop in right behind it when installing it and then worry about how to seal it up from behind. And thus far, I haven't really needed to seal it up because, as you can see from this angle, you have no idea there even is a seam. And that's because the foreground is higher than the background, so you can't see that transition. So I have an idea about how I'm going to handle that. It involves some old used foam board and the coal that Woodland Scenic sells, I believe, that little scale coal. I guess I could show you what I'm talking about. Hang on, let's see if I can find it. Here we go. It's this Woodland Scenic fine ballast, but they call it cinders. Well, it's really fine grade coal. So I'm going to be using that for my actual coal. And like I said, I'm going to do a video based just on how I'm going to do that, and we'll see if it's crazy or not. Anyway, beyond that, I'm going to go ahead and probably add some more trees for this transition just to kind of finally more or less seal that off. And we're going to add some ground covering along the entire facility. I've ordered some more 6-foot barbed wire fence from Whistle Stop Models. We're going to go ahead and fence this facility in, probably right along the tracks in this area along the hillside. And then we're going to add some ground cover all the way here to the fascia. And of course, we're going to get the track finished in terms of weathering and ballast, because I've already got a good start on the main line here. All of the track has already got that primary coat that gets the ties and the rails, so I just got to go back and get the rails and add the ballast. So a lot to work on in this scene. I think it'll be much improved when I get it done the next couple weeks. I'll be obviously balancing that with continued work on the Arkansas River Pour and the Royal Gorge Route. We'll see what I can get done here in the next couple of weeks. So thanks again for everybody for voting, sharing your opinions, and any helpful comments you guys have shared. I appreciate all of that. So we'll check in here in a couple weeks and see how it goes. Thanks for watching.